Hi everyone, my name is Scott, and I'm the Game Master for the Canonwalker group of the Shard of Opportunity, a Cosmere web series. I sat down a couple of weeks ago with each of our players and asked them about their characters. Who are they? Why are they here? Where are they going? You know, the real nitty-gritty stuff. What makes them tick? What makes them talk? What makes them snap, crackle, and pop? For some reason, I forgot to record myself asking the questions, so you'll just be hearing their responses, but enjoy our deep conversations on life, the Cosmere, and everything. And I'll see you at the end of the video. So without any further ado, let me introduce the Canonwalkers.
My character's name is Farav, and he is him. He is a proud originator of Kolinar Alethkar. I would say mid to late 30s, old enough to have kids and a family. He has a wife, and she is pregnant. He is currently a weaponsmith on the Shattered Plains. He is currently a scholar. Well, he originally wanted to be a warrior, but things went wrong. He likes to treat them as puzzles and tools. He likes to build something to help him solve his issues. I feel like his favorite childhood memory would be when the Kolinar royal family marched through his village and he got to see what true soldiers were like. Not for a physical place, no. He has a young apprentice named Torvin that he kind of views as a younger version of himself that he wants to take care of. His purpose is to prove that he has worth and that his wound is not the end of his story. He lost on his first day after he joined the military. His first day on the Shattered Plains, there was an accident and he lost his leg. This is a brand new skill. He wanted to fight in the Shattered Plains. He wanted to prove his gloriousness in battle and as a soldier, but that was taken away from him. He has kept the tip of his first spear, the one he was supposed to take into battle. He now wears it around his neck. Well, the main obstacle is the fact that he's missing a leg, and he won't be able to have the life that he wanted. But currently, a goal of his is he wants to be able to forge a shard blade. He sees the great high princes carrying them around sometimes, and he's like, I want to make one. He is a very proud Alethi, and he views them as his enemy. High Lord Murad Kalinar, who was the officer in charge of his battalion, the one who left him to rot on the Shattered Plains, and the reason he lost his leg. As he was lying on the Shattered Plains and his leg was bleeding, he thought he saw a faint pulse of light, like a breath beneath stone, whispering to him that it is not yet his time to die. I wrote his character to be a warrior, but ultimately he had to become a scholar. So a lot of his stuff is what originally would be in a warrior, but has been slowly turned away. In my head, this was a character who had been pulled away from what he thought was his destiny.
Hi, everybody. I'm going to be playing Nmra. She goes by she, her. She is from Phalina, specifically Kilna or Klina, depending on how you want to pronounce that. Nmra is, I want to say she's about like late teens, early 20s. I'll probably put her around 18. She is currently a merchant apprentice. She has a Bapsk, whose name is capital B, Bapsk. And that's all she knows about Bapsk. There's no other name. Ooh, she likes to grow her eyebrows quite long. So they kind of go down to maybe her collarbone at the moment, with a little curl at the end. No, she does not color her eyebrows. They are a beautiful stark white. Nimra's starting path will be envoy and a little bit of hunter as well. She will have 2 paths to begin with. So the way Nmra overcomes obstacles is by charm and cunning. She learns this from Babsk. It's one of the reasons she was even brought on to be an apprentice by Babsk. So she uses her words before her fists. But you don't want her to use her fists. Not because they're scary. They're not good. She's not good at her fists. That's what I'm saying. Nmra is not homesick in the traditional sense. She doesn't really miss Thelina. She loves traveling. She loves seeing the world. But she is homesick for who she considers home, and that's her brother, who's we don't know where he is. Ooh, you'll have to kind of find out and see what happened to her brother. That's going to be something you guys can look forward to. The thing that drives Nmra started with a search for her brother and evolved into knowledge. She wants knowledge. She wants to see the world and know everything about it. One of Nimra's childhood memories that she loves is just being at the Thelina shipyards, just kind of sitting there watching her brother work on making different ships. She has a really strong connection with him, so that's one that sticks in her head. There are 2 things that she always has with her. One is a little journal that is full of notes. She pulls it out anytime she sees something interesting, and she is furiously taking down notes. And the other is a little wooden totem that her brother has carved for her. So some of the goals I've kind of mentioned a little bit. I won't identify exactly what I have said that are her goals. I think people can put that one together. But some of her obstacles is she doesn't really think before she acts, or she thinks so much she is unable to do anything. So she gets in her head, or there is nothing in her head. So Nmra sees the Parshendi singers, however we want to call them. She finds them quite interesting. There's a lot unknown about them, but as a whole, she kind of doesn't really spend too much thought into them. They're kind of there. She sees them. She finds them interesting when she does see them, but then if they're not there, out of sight, out of mind. Oh, that's a good question. Probably Sadius. I feel like he would ask her and Babsk to try and get goods that are like unreasonable to get during a time of war and just completely unreasonable to bring to war camps. So I think she would punch Sadius in the face just for asking unreasonable things like that.
Okay, I'll be playing Risha, and her pronouns are she, her. She's from the Reshi Isles, specifically the island of Sumi. She is about 26. Currently, she kind of acts as like an expedition guide, enjoys like exploring the unknown, and so she makes a living by taking other people and guiding them through terrain and things that they've maybe not encountered. She has made her way to Alethkar. So Risha's starting path is hunter with a little bit of agent. Risha's preferred method for problem solving is probably cunning. She likes to look at a problem and analyze it, kind of break it down, use her brain first. Risha she's a little bit homesick. She does miss kind of the experiences and the wildlife that she had back home. She enjoys and is so curious about what is out there, what's unknown that she hasn't experienced yet. Risha is driven mostly by her curiosity, and she has kind of a thirst for knowledge, particularly about the wildlife on Roshar. She carries a bag full of field journals, and she likes to document animals and creatures like that she finds and sees. She's trying to gather as much information as she can. She spent a lot of time by the seaside as a child, kind of just watching the different creatures that came by and like just the peaceful feeling and like environment that was there. Risha does not currently have a best friend. She's not very good with people. And she prefers animals to people, and she's a little bit mistrusting. She's had a few bad experiences with people in her past. And so she's a little bit of a loner. One goal that I guess we've kind of touched on a little bit, is she is just trying to explore like anywhere she can get to, and document what she finds. An obstacle, is she's a little bit, she's independent almost to a fault. With her mistrust of people, she tries to do most things entirely on her own. And so a lot of things tend to be much more difficult for her than they need to be. Risha doesn't have she doesn't have a ton of experience with the Parshendi, but she overall doesn't really like the war itself. She feels like there is a lot of unnecessary destruction and things happening across the Shattered Plains and what have you. And she feels like the destruction caused by the war is kind of interrupting and causing chaos in the environment and things. And she's not a big fan of that. If she could punch one person in the war camps, Risha she'd probably pick Dalinar. And the reason for this is when she was probably about 8 years old. Dalinar actually led a conquest on one of the Reshi Isles, conquered it, took it over, destroyed the people, and claimed the land for Alethkar. And her island was not too far away, and so she kind of grew up with a little bit of fear of the Blackthorn, and kind of she has no love for Dalinar.
Her name is Holonaki'i'iki'pata'ali'i'ini. You can just call her Spark. She's a Peaks girl, horn eater, through and through. There is a group. She's about 23. Her name is a poem, something along the lines of the small spark that lights in the hollow winter's breath, the flame born where frost endures, or the hidden heat that survives the longest winter. Kind of just a reminder that the coldest world can hold fire. She was and she brought a group down to the Shattered Plains and ended up staying there. So she's mostly a mercenary, a guard, maybe. She's probably been working in Sabarial's camp because he's most likely to ignore the Voran cultural issues of women with weapons. Her safe hand is just another hand. Spark's starting path is a warrior. Her feet don't stray too far from a fight. Ooh, how tall is Spark? Uh, she might be at least as tall as Alethi, maybe even bigger. She's always kind of been a little bit bigger and tougher than her peers her whole life. Some nights the wind of the peaks might call to her a little bit on a quiet night. But for the most part, she's enjoying the challenge on the Shattered Plains, so she's not terribly homesick yet. Spark's childhood memories, her favorite ones would always involve her brother Taka. He was born just a little bit different. He would maybe talk to trees or icicles, and just always had the oddest things to say, but the biggest heart, and so she nominated herself as his protector. So she's got lots of memories of trouncing bullies and then maybe picking him back up again and taking Taka home. Taka said it was time for her to go, that he could take care of himself. The mountains knew him, and she had things to do down in the lowlands, the flatlands. An item that she always has on her, when she left, Taka gave her a small rock. He told her it would keep her safe. In her mind, she always thinks it carries a little bit of the warmth of home, and so she always keeps that close to her. Oh, Spark's best friend? Spark is probably best friends with whoever she's with at the moment that is, willing to laugh and work together. Her drive is to prove herself, also just to stand up for anyone who might be a little bit of the underdog. Her goals are to continue developing her fighting skills and become the best warrior. Her obstacle is probably her temper. It's pretty quick. If she feels like she's being disrespected or mocked or injustice, especially, it'll set her off like a storm and she'll charge in. So the Parshendi, she views them with curiosity mostly. She hadn't ever met any until she came to the Shattered Plains, and she respects anybody who can survive and that is fighting for something they believe in their home. So she doesn't understand this whole vengeance thing that the Alethi war. She feels like they ought to, get it over with. They've had a couple of good fights. It's time to make up. But so she respects the Parshendi, probably doesn't know too much about them. So she just respects their fighting skills. The better question would be, who wouldn't she punch? But High Prince Ruthar. She would probably peg him as loud and arrogant, and she might pick up on the fact that he's a bit of a bully. And she would think, oh, you know what? He's got a face made for falling downstairs. And, it wouldn't be personal. It'd just be instructional. Growing up and nominating herself as the protector for her little brother, she's always going to try to step in front of someone who's might get hurt and maybe can't take a punch. So she'll step in front of a blow meant for someone else if at all possible, and she just feels like she was built to take hits. When I think about Spark, I think of her as like a really trash talky, maybe hockey player, gonna be charging in and body checking and then, picking everybody up off the ice afterwards and maybe losing a tooth or whatever.
Yeah, my character's name is Tylin. I wanted to keep it nice and simple for everybody. And Tylin, he, him. Tylin comes from Erie, specifically the city of Cassator, which detailed readers will know is the city where the spren Kusakech comes out of the ocean. And that is where he grew up, though he is not Erie ethnically. Tylin just had his 20th birthday, but it wasn't in the best of circumstances, so he didn't get to celebrate it all that much. Tylin had joined up with the Cassator guards, like the city watch, and had been serving for kind of 2 years there, and then had taken an opportunity to become a mercenary to like guard a caravan, and things go terribly wrong on that mission or on that caravan journey, and he is going to spend time imprisoned as not necessarily a slave, but that's how he gets from the west side of Roshar over to where our journey will begin on the east side. He has maybe the physical appearance of a warrior or like a typical like tank in a RPG game, but is a thoughtful and inquisitive person who wants to learn as much as possible about the military and war with a desire that he can use that knowledge to help prevent it. I think that Tylin would love to solve problems with his cunning or his mind, and is unfortunately often in the position of needing to solve problems or being forced to solve problems with his muscles or his fists. Tylin definitely had friends in Cassator. However, he does not have a best friend and would have been considered an outsider because, as I said, he's not ethnically Erie and therefore always kind of stood out as an awkward person, though he was born in Cassator. So culturally, he has that expertise, but he would have always felt like an outsider growing up. I think originally he definitely would have had the slightly more childish idea that he could go off and see the world as like a young man and use this mercenary trip to kind of like jumpstart seeing the rest of Roshar. And then after his experiences being imprisoned and being kind of taken across, he's certainly missing his parents as well as the more simple life that he left behind. I think that he would have really loved the port city of Cassator, walking along the beach. And I think that the stunning aspect of Kusakech and just how that's happening kind of regularly would always be something that he returns to and like wanting to see again. Because of his time as a slave or time in prison, he has absolutely no items from home anymore, would have been kind of like stripped of all possessions. But I will say that he now, when we're picking up with the character, he's very insistent about having a weapon on him at all times. And so like improvised weapon, maybe eventually he'll gain a more purposeful weapon, but he does not like the thought of ever being imprisoned again. I think that his time as a prisoner actually like reinforced his desire to want to end all conflict and all wars. He thinks that he can do that by learning as much as possible. And so he actually kind of doubled down on the original reason for leaving after his imprisonment. He wants to go towards the Shattered Plains because he thinks that's where the best military leaders and strategists are. And so he wants to continue along that path of knowledge for the purpose of potentially like helping end conflict. The primary motivator for Tylin is to learn as much as possible about the military so that he can potentially eliminate conflict between people. And I think that one of his other goals may have been inspired by his time in prison, but he certainly has a bias to helping kind of like free people from slavery, free people from servitude, and to kind of, he's motivated to make sure that that type of thing doesn't happen to others. The Parshendi represent only like a mythic concept to Tylin. He's obviously never been to the Shattered Plains previously. He's seen Parshmen in his travels. I think that Unfortunately, there has to be an acknowledgement that like most of the humans are very speciesist or racist on Rashar. And so he would fall into that category, but he is also going to recognize the subservient position that the Parshmen are in, and then eventually, hopefully, realize a similar thing with the Parshendi, and how the conflict between the humans and the Parshendi is probably the greatest example of the war that he would like not to exist anymore. Yeah, hypothetically, if Tylin had known anybody at the war camps, I think that he would most be drawn to punching Amaram in the face, because of the duplicitous nature that Amaram presents, where maybe there would actually be like a little bit of respect for the warlord Dalinar Kholin, of just like, oh, he's a military genius, I should learn something from him. The concept of someone deceiving or presenting one way but being another would probably anger him quite a bit, because that is the circumstance that he dealt with from his captors most recently. I think the only other thing that I would like to introduce are his parents ethnically. He has a father who is from the Reshi Isles, and had to leave the Reshi Isles because of one of their civil war between the islands. And so his father was like a refugee. And then his mother is from Shinovar, and maybe not a direct like Civil War aspect, but she also was a refugee who traveled to the city of Kassator, where they met and eventually had Tylin. And so both of them have kind of a outsider perspective themselves. And then Tylin as kind of the child of immigrants, as well as a mixed race child in Erie, kind of like really reinforces the outsider nature of his mindset. So he's going to struggle a lot to feel included in a group. Even if he is trying to be helpful and trying to be nice, he doesn't ever feel like he's actually included in any type of large group, whether that was the guard crew or any group that we happen to join up with in our adventures in the CosmereRPG.
My character is named Vardah, redacted. Vardah is very secretive. He does not like to talk about himself. He doesn't like to talk much at all. And so nobody has been able to ascertain where he's from. But the war camps have been his home for several years now. He's 21. He is a scout. He's going to be an agent. He likes to approach things from behind or unseen. He likes to do things in darkness if he can. Just easier for concealing. He definitely does not hit things head on. His motivations and his goals are his own. He is very loyal to family and to culture, and he is driven by his desire to better the situation of those that he cares for. He had a childhood hero that he idolized, somebody that he really admired. There was a time when he was quite young, maybe 8 or 9. He was showing proficiency in being able to sneak around, and he became well known for that. And this childhood hero of his that he admired invited him one time to go scouting with him, and that was one of the things that he always really treasures from his past. Vardah does not get homesick. A knife, I guess. Much like not getting homesick, Vardah feels that if something is not used for a purpose, then he doesn't need it. He's very much about utility. Nostalgia is for the weak. The only thing that matters to him is his friends and family. Material possessions beyond that are just for the purposes of using them. He might carry a knife with him at all times, though. Vardah does have a best friend, or did. His best friend actually died a few years back. Kind of tragic and disappointing. He is open to the idea of having a new best friend, but so far has not found anybody worth replacing her. Goals and obstacles, not that he is willing to share. His goals are his own. He does feel that he is unable to accomplish his goals right now, just due to his circumstances. Being in the war camps is part of his goal, but it also is the obstacle to his goal. Hi, Prince Thaddeus. Not even a hesitation. He would just, as soon as he got close, he would just wail him right in the face. And not just Thaddeus. He has thought about punching a lot of people in the war camps. Thaddeus is just top of the list. Vardah is open to all walks of life. He respects that everyone is just trying to make their own way in the world. He is very proud and likes to think that some are better than others. But he won't stop people from being who they are, who they are going to be. So he does not have any. He doesn't have any confrontation with the Parshendi. Something they should pay attention to. Because he is so secretive, he is hiding his identity, even from those around him. And not just his identity, but everything about him. So pay attention to his motivations for hiding. His appearance is very difficult to make out. He likes to keep himself hidden, and he wears like head coverings. He likes to conceal his appearance as much as possible. Like even the people that he is close around could not give you a description of him.
Scott again. Thanks for sitting down and getting a sneak peek at the characters that we will be taking through the official and canon Stonewalkers adventure of the CosmereRPG. I don't know about you, but I'm excited to get to know these characters more. Watch what decisions that they're going to make, and which of them are going to bond Spren, and which of them we might eventually have to say goodbye to. They were cognitive shadows, forever living in our cognitive hearts. Not that I'm gonna, intentionally kill any of these, but, shard blades exist, so it could happen. Don't blame me, blame Brandon. But join us next week to meet the Loose Cannons, a group that's going to be running a homebrew campaign from the ever-epic mind of the ever-epic CJ. Watch our socials for when the Canonwalkers are going to have our first post. Our first episodes are going to be the Bridge 9 adventure that was released with the beta of the CosmereRPG last year. Anyways, thanks for joining us, and remember, Radiance, strength before weakness. Until next time.